Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
From Daytona Beach to Charlotte, Indianapolis to Bathurst, the 2024 iRacing Special Events calendar has gone all over the world. Tonight, we visit Tulsa, Oklahoma and the Tulsa Expo Center, where every year, hundreds of racers attempt to be added to a list that includes NASCAR and World of Outlaws champions as the winner of the Super Bowl of Midget Racing. Welcome to the virtual version of this historic event, the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals, live on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. Happy to be your host, Joshua Lee, alongside Ron Montz for tonight's action. And Ron, this is going to be a fast and furious race. So far this year, we have had the 24 hours of Daytona. We have had the 24 hours of Spa, Petit Le Mans, a bunch of endurance races, including the Coke 600. Now, this is going to be probably the fastest, but one of the most exciting special events that we have had all year long.
Oh, you're absolutely right there, Josh. We're saving the best for last. The Chili Bowl, a unique spectacle, and not just iRacing, but the world of motorsports as a whole. The Chili Bowl gonna host some fantastic racing, some fast-paced racing all throughout tonight. I'll tell you what, Josh, this is going to be a heck of a lot of fun over the races that we have coming up.
We've got a lot of races to get through tonight. The event format of the Chili Bowl, similar to the Knoxville Nationals. We've completed that 10-minute practice. They're now qualifying now, 2 laps on the track over 3 minutes. The track reset to about 2%. Then we have 6 8-lap heats with the top 3 of each of those advancing directly to our main event tonight. That is 18 drivers out of the heats. And then the alphabet soup begins, Ron. The E main leading into the D, the C, the B, all the way into the A main event. If you get through the top 4 and advance out of the E main, you're not going to the main event like you were out of the heats. You're going to the D main. From there, you get to the C, then to the B. It is a long road ahead of you if you end up in the E main.
I think the best word to describe that challenge is going to be arduous. These drivers have to apply so much pressure to themselves and their competitors as well, trying to get those moves done, but at the same time, we want to make it to the checkered flag. To finish first you have to finish, and for the racers in that E main or the D main or the C main or the B main for that matter, you just want to have a shot, a chance, a small little opportunity to make it into the A main. You just need to put yourself in that right opportunity, and if you could do that, you're probably going to be golden.
Caution laps also not counting in that A main, just FYI. We're ready to get things started tonight with heat race number 1. And on the pole, it is the driver that won last year, going for 2 in a row. He has won 4 top split races so far this week. Cody Parmley is going to start on the pole in that number 3. Jacob Denny to his outside. Dylan Yeager, Justin Opplinger rounding out your second row. Matt Hancock and Richard Murtaugh rounding out the first 3 rows. James Turnbull with Colt Curry, Desmond Busby, and Dan Dixon gonna round out the 10 drivers that'll take the green flag here in heat race number 1. And we're already gridded up, ready for 2 pace laps behind the official iRacing pace truck. And Ron, this just gets the entire night started. A lot can happen here in heat race number 1. Cody Parmley, honestly, in my eyes, seen as the favorite. I don't know if you share the same sentiment, but he might end up in the alphabet soup if he is not careful in this heat.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that Parmalee has to realize come time for this first race of the evening to kick off the action. He needs to realize that he has a very fast race car and he's very fast himself. As you mentioned, he's won a whole bunch of top split races, is the reigning Chili Bowl Nationals champion on the iRacing platform. All he needs to do is just make it out of this race. He doesn't need to win. He doesn't need to go out for all-out glory. He just needs to put himself in a good spot. Let's see if he can do it.
Parmalee looking to be the first driver to ever go back-to-back and win multiple Chili Bowl Nationals. We'll get to that in the feature. It's time to go racing with the heats, and Parmalee gets a great start to get out in front early. The 14 moving to the outside line. That's Jacob Denny, who is now side-by-side with the 40 of Opplinger to the inside. Contact made as they enter back into turn one.
Oh, that was a touch, and that is a terrifying moment when you're going sideways, slideways through these corners, hauling a mail like these racers are. That is terrifying, especially so coming so early on into this race.
Denny now resetting, has to try and get over Justin Opplinger if he wants to advance into the A main. Right now, he's going to have a great starting spot around the BC main, but he needs to try and get by for the cut line. He's got a long line behind him. Matt Hancock, Richard Murtaugh also in this battle. Everybody fourth on back, stacked on up, but the transfer spots for third.
I gotta say, if you're Opplinger heading into the final half of this race, you may feel a little bit nervous. You got the 14 and you got the 17 right up your trumpets. I gotta imagine if you're the driver of the number 40 car, you just gotta keep your own race because that chaos behind may come back to bite you.
He's protecting that very dominant inside line as well. White flag out. Parmalee well and away for the heat race win. The look is on the transfer. Opplinger has it. 14 goes top. 14 goes bottom. Hits the apron, and it's going to lose out on the transfer. Opplinger's going to advance. Jacob Denny is going to have to fight through the alphabet soup. We'll see where he ends up after everything is said and done with these heats. But that was a quick end to that heat. Parmalee, Yeager, Opplinger advance into the A main, and Denny, Hancock, Murtaugh, Busby, Dixon, Curry, and Turnbull are all going to now reset and get ready for the alphabet soup. Just like that, we're ready for heat race number 2 with Rumsey and Robles sharing the first 2 spots. Aiden Price, Landon Graham Jr. on row 2. TK Bryan with Colin Mitchell in the first 6 spots. Talon Willis, Evan Dawson, and Kyle McCutcheon is going to round out the 9 drivers taking the grid here in heat race number 2. Ron, back to heat race number 1 for a moment, because that is what the cut line means. That is what the transfer means. He went for it, took the only opening he had on the inside, and that slight little raised bit of dirt on the apron unfortunately bit him, and he ends up now in probably the B or C main.
I gotta say, though, credit where credit's due to Denny. You can't say that he didn't give it a hard-fought challenge heading off into the final few corners of that last lap, nearly setting himself off into low Earth orbit in the process. Wasn't able to get the move done, but still an absolutely valiant effort. Let's see if we see some more heroics like that heading into the second heat race of the evening. I'll tell you what, though, to kick this evening off, that was a brilliant start.
Very possible we see some more heroics. Sometimes that's just what it takes in this dirt oval racing on the iRacing service. Already on the second pace lap, the iRacing pace truck will head down into the pit lane, and we get ready to go racing for heat race number 2. On the pole, it is Logan Rumsey, a championship competitor in the World of Outlaws Pro Series. What can he do from the top spot in the heat? He gets a great jump. Battle for the transfer already on. It's Aiden Price trying to fend off a charging Landon Graham Jr., who had the inside. Now protecting that spot is Aiden Price as they complete lap 1.
Oh, I'm going to be keeping my eyes on Price. He's looking very racy at this point of the race, nearly ramping it up on the inside line there. But look, now he's trying to feel a lot of pressure. That's Landon Graham Jr. trying to get a move done on him. The 9 and the 12 got to be feeling racy. Look at the 12, though, sideways like, oh, hell.
That was Landon Graham Jr. on the inside. He ended up popping a bit of a wheelie. These cars have so much horsepower, so little weight. It's very easy to get those front tires in the air, and that is sending the 12 now back into P5. You're on board with Landon Graham Jr. as he tries to fight to get back to that transfer, but with time running out, he hits the wall in the back straightaway. 3 to go at the line. Battle for the transfers between TK Bryan and Aiden Price. It's all Aiden Price, who is running an uncharacteristic top line. Contact for 4th.
That could have ended in an absolute disaster a couple of moments ago. It didn't, and they should be counting their lucky stars that they didn't. That was incredibly close to absolute disaster breaking out. Looks like most of the front pack of the field, though, they're fairly spread out, looking good for Aiden Price to make the transfer.
On the final lap and across the line for Logan Rumsey, World of Outlaws Pro Series competitor, showing why he is at the top of the iRacing pillars in Dirt Oval. Rumsey wins Heat 2, Rico Robles and Aiden Price first, second, and third. TK Bryan, Landon Graham Jr., Kyle McCutcheon, and the rest of the way down on through will all advance into the alphabet soup. On to Heat Race number 3. Dane Culver is going to be on the pole. Noah Carpenter to his outside on the first row. Cullen Hutchison with Gavin Marlin on row 2. Brady Baker and Timothy Thurin gonna round out the first 3 rows with Evan Amadon, Nicholas Hovey, and Dan Lane. 9 drivers ready for heat race number 2 on the eve, or heat race number 3 on the evening. We just get done with heat race number 2. This will be our halfway point through these first initial heat races on the night. But Ron, like we mentioned earlier, this is just the beginning of the racing. These transfer spots are 4 spots in the A main, which yes are important, but when you get into the E main, the D main, even going all the way far as the C main, getting those transfers are even more important just to stay alive.
And I gotta say as well, one thing that's going to be riding on these drivers' minds is the difference for drivers that punch their ticket into the A main and those who find themselves in the alphabet soup. It's gonna feel like a much longer night for those racers that end up getting bumped down into those main races to make their way into the main show. So that's the thing that these drivers gonna have to keep their eyes on as they're coming to green for the 3rd heat.
Heat race number 3, off and away. Battle for the transfer is on in turn 1. Inside, Gavin Marlin. Outside, Cullen Hutchison. They fan out into 3. Inside line, definitely preferred, but we saw with the transfer in the last race that you can make the outside work. And how about the slider? It worked for the 23 of Brady Baker. He's up to P4.
Holy cow, that was a beautiful move for the driver of the number 23 car. Let's see if he can pull some more rabbits out of his hat, though. He got some side-by-side action right in front of him involving Noah Carpenter and Cullen Hutchinson. So Baker, he may be in a very good spot to make his way up into the top 3. May have tapped the wall there coming out of the corner, though. He needs to get a little bit careful come to the halfway mark.
He's got a fast number 23 Dirt Midget right now, but he's got a little bit of work to do. You're on board with Brady Baker. Can he make another slide job work? He's gonna have to do it on Cullen Hutchison in front. He tried to set it up. He moves up the racetrack in turn 1. Now follows the tire tracks through 3 and 4. It's 2 to go at the line. Culver and Carpenter way out in front. Contact for the transfer. Baker sends Hutchison into the wall. He makes contact with Gavin Marlin, and sending all the way down to P9 is Cullen Hutchison. Brady Baker into the transfer with contact and drama.
And as that's going on, it's going to be a checkered flag for Culver.
Dane Culver gets the heat race win. Carpenter gets second, but nobody's going to be talking about that. Everyone's going to be talking about the Brady Baker and Cullen Hutchison contact that we just saw in heat race number 3 off of a slide job. I don't know if that's how Brady Baker wanted to do it, but that is how he did do it. And nonetheless, he is advancing on into the A main. Heat race 4 on deck. Will it get more exciting than that? Matthew Johnston with Chase Rogers on the front row. Callum Thornton, Chase Cabry, very familiar to iRacing and real world dirt oval racing. He starts outside of row 2. Marshall Jacobs, Cannon Posey gonna round out the first 3 rows with Jack Gronwald, Robbie McCutcheon, and Nate Clark gonna round out 9 drivers ready for heat race 4. Ron, we saw how well the slide jobs can work on the first move by Brady Baker. We saw how they sometimes might not work out that well on that final move for the transfer.
That's the thing with those slide jobs. They can either end really well or really, really badly. Some racers have been incredibly fortunate thus far to get away with those moves, but at the same time, you don't want to play with fire for too long. You go for a move like that at one point, gonna turn out fine. Go for a move like that, maybe into the A main, coming to the checkered flag, and that race, it's gonna end a lot different. Now coming to the green.
ready to go, and it's Matthew Johnston that is on the lap pedal to get us started. Callum Thornton already looking for the transfer, but around goes Johnston from the race lead. He collected Chase Cabry, he collected Jack Gronwald, collected McCutcheon in the back as well. Callum Thornton gets away with the lead. Marshall Jacobs, Chase Rogers, your top three with a considerable gap ahead of fourth place Nate Clark.
And now the real question is here, Josh, is that little incident that we just saw a couple of moments ago, is that going to break at this pack for that transfer spot? Or is that actually going to result in the likes of Thorne, Jacobs, and Rogers being really locked steady in their top three spots and make it into that A main? I'm curious whether or not that incident has actually broken it up a little bit. Looking like a big gap between Rogers and Clark as we take a look at that replay to see that drama at the start.
There was a slight bit of contact, but I think at the same time, Matthew Johnston did go into turn number one. He did scrub a little bit of speed off, and unfortunately contact made with the driver behind him, and that ended up forcing the incident there. That was Chase Rogers that had the contact, the number 50 we're looking at right now, who has that transfer spot currently. Nate Clark is in pursuit of it, but at 5/10, make it 6/10 right now on the white flag lap run. Not looking like it's going to happen for Nate Clark. He's going to have to fight through the alphabet soup.
And that's tough for him, but you gotta say, he probably expected that result, as that's Thorne coming to take the checkered flag.
Three more into the feature. It's Callum Thornton, it's Marshall Jacobs, it's Chase Rogers, who all end up advancing on into the feature after heat race number 4. Grid ready for heat race number 5. We're almost all the way to the end. Jarrett Liebert, very familiar to top level iRacing competition, starts on the pole. David Snook to his outside. Kyle Looper, Derek Jones share row 2. Thomas Davison and Shelby Hinton gonna round out the first 3 rows. Joshua Walton with James McDonald and Trevor Gatch gonna round out the 9 drivers ready for heat race number 5 on the night. The excitement is starting to ramp up. We've now seen, Ron, 2 pretty polarizing incidents at the front of the field in both of our last 2 heats. Where do we go from here? We know everybody's going for as much real estate. We know everybody's trying to get as much speed out of these cars as they can. But in these heat races, you are going to have to be pretty aggressive, and I think we're seeing that so far.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, Josh. We've seen a level of aggression out of these racers that I can't say is entirely unwarranted as well. You know, there's a lot at risk if you make it into those transfer spots. You could find yourself in a very comfortable spot all throughout the rest of the night. So that could be part of the reason why we have seen some aggression, but still some brilliant racing thus far. And hey, the racing action is still far from over. Coming to the green.
Heat race number 5 in the hands of Barney the Flagman, and we are back underway. Jarrett Liebert gets away with the lead. Contact for second. The 22 goes right up the racetrack. Quick contact with the 45 machine of Shelby Hinton. Now Derek Jones sits in that transfer for the 39. The 22 is going to put the bumper to the 45 again. Almost wrecks him for P4. The battle for the lead between Liebert and Snook is on. Snook goes to the inside to try and get the lead on Liebert.
Look at this absolute hornet's nest and a big wreck upside down. That, I believe, was a number 19 car. Actually, no, that was a 15 of Walton, and that's a huge crash. There you go. A lot of drama going on throughout this race. I was going to say, look at this hornet's nest. The hornet's nest still hasn't broken apart either, Josh. Pandemonium here in the heat.
Not going to see cautions here in these heats, but where we're at right now with all of that contact and all of that chaos is the top 3 that has pulled away. David Snook grabbed the lead early on from Liebert. Now Shelby Hinton is going to get by for 3rd from Liebert. That 11 starting to fall. Will he fall into the clutches of Trevor Gatch, who is pursuing for that transfer?
Ooh, you can see him side by side coming out of the corner, and a big bit of wall contact there for Hinton. Big contact as well, side to side, door to door, wheel to wheel. Looking at that hard battling for the final 2 spots in the transfer spots, and that's a huge crash there.
Jarrett Liebert hit the apron. He loses the transfer. Trevor Gatch is going to advance from 3rd. Jarrett Liebert with a big mistake on the final corner. He went for the move to the inside. He tried to improve on his 3rd place. He tapped the apron. You saw the wheelie. You saw the contact. And Liebert goes from hero advancing into the A main to near zero, having to go out of the alphabet soup now. Through all the chaos, through all the tribulation, David Snook wins the heat. He advances along with second and third off and into the feature. Ethan Irons and Cody Norman are going to start front row on the final heat of the night as we get ready for heat race number 6. Chance Grasty, Aiden Beerline, very familiar with his racing, the 2023 Knoxville Nationals champion on iRacing. He starts to the outside of that row, and you see the rest of the grid: Cody Meadows, Mason Hannell, Brian Bennett down the rest of the way as the field will get rolling behind the official iRacing pace truck. What a mistake from Jarrett Liebert. I mean, he was within the transfer spots, and one quick mistake, one tap of that apron, get those front tires in the air. I mean, I don't blame him for the contact at all. He was along for the ride.
Still absolutely heartbreaking, though. As you just said, Josh, he was running in a really good spot, running in a transfer spot, but that goes back to the point that I raised earlier on in this broadcast, talking about playing with fire. As much as it may be so tempting, and some of these race cars, some of these race car drivers, even the ones without a red splotch of paint on their race cars, they're still gonna get caught up in the red mist from time to time. And I think there was a simple case of that a couple of moments ago there, Josh. Still a heartbreaker.
2x2 again. Final heat is green. How badly do these drivers want to race in the feature? Chance Grasty and Aiden Beerline fight for the transfer. They're 3 wide behind them for 4th. They were for a moment. They settle back out to 2x2. Battle for the transfer still on, but Beerline starting to fall. He's got to go side by side to even try and stay in this conversation. He's on the outside in that white dirt midget.
Oh, and you can see this hornet's nest of race cars nearly 3 wide a couple of moments ago. They were playing with fire right now. A big crash coming out of the corner, upside down. That's the number 6 barrel rolling, heading off into 3 and 4. One car taken out of this fight, but the fight is still on.
Aiden Beerline, 2023 Knoxville Nationals champion on the iRacing service, has just gone down to 9th. He's going to fight through the alphabet soup tonight after contact and after flipping in heat race number 6. We've got an exciting alphabet soup on deck. Don't go anywhere, wherever you're tuning in to the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals, because we've got a long road ahead of us to the A main. We've also got a long road ahead of us here in heat race number 6. Still 2 laps to go when they cross the line this time. Lackey Brett is currently in P4 trying to get behind Chance Grasky for the transfer, but he has got a full second right now to try and contend with, but contact made. That was Josh Kosick that is going to be out of the race. Cody Norman also ends up out of the race at the end as well. Chance Grasty, Lackey Brett, and Ethan Irons are your 3 that will advance off of heat race number 6. A very, very quick mistake from Cody Norman. Not 1,000% sure what happened to the number 49, but he ended up going from a healthy transfer to not advancing at all. He hit the wall, turns 1 and 2 on the final lap, and he ends up going through the alphabet soup now, which, by the way, we're ready to get started. This is the E main. Top 4 after these 10 laps will advance on to the D main tonight. Evan Dawson, Cullen Hutchison, front 2, Robbie McCutcheon, Derek Jones, row 2, Brian Bennett, Colt Curry, rounding out your first 6 spots. Kyle McCutcheon, Dan Lane, Matthew Johnston, Joshua Waltz in the top 10. There's Aiden Beerline in an uncharacteristic 11th starting spot in the E main. James Turnbull rounds out your 12 drivers ready to go. As I said, we're out of advancing drivers into the A main until we get into the B main later on tonight. All these drivers, the top 4 that advance, and all these drivers that are fighting for those transfer spots now, Ron, are trying to fight for a spot to stay alive and advance into the next main event that we will have.
Yeah, I think the best way that we can describe these main races now, Josh, is it's a game of life and death. And I think these drivers certainly going to be applying much more of an aggressive mindset than we saw in those heats. I mean, the heat races were pretty insane as is. We had cars barrel rolling, massive hornet's nests of midgets driving around this racetrack at a steady click of well too fast on dirt. But these racers coming into the alphabet soup, they're going to be feeling even more aggressive. And I don't know about you, Josh, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Watch that white number 6 back there of Aiden Beerline. He's going to want to get up through this field as quickly as possible. You're on board in the mid-pack as we go green for 10 laps here in the first of our mains, the E-main. Contact already as Robbie McCutcheon wanted a transfer, and we still sit on board way back in the pack. One driver onto the apron. Contact again. Down to the inside. Contact made, and car flipping now into the stands. That's Brian Bennett.
Bennett going upside down yet again. That, I believe, was a racer that we saw wall riding at the end of that final heat race. He goes for another wild moment. He's going to be out of it. He is done from tonight's racing action as we see a side-by-side fight continuing here. Pandemonium all throughout this field. You can see the 16 car involved in that. This is for the final transfer spot, and you can see no love lost between a lot of these racers breaking the chrome horns out. That's a spin for the 16.
Matthew Johnston was in a fight with Colt Curry for that transfer. They slowed into turn 1, and that was contact between Johnston and Curry, sent Johnston right on around. Colt Curry has your transfer spot now. Over halfway done with this heat. Another car backwards on the back straightaway. I believe that was Joshua Walton in the 15. Aiden Beerline, by the way, ran into an incident in all the chaos. He is now scored in the pits, out of this race. Beerline will not be racing in the feature of this year's Chili Bowl Nationals.
That's an absolute heartbreaker for him as well. A quick driver in these midgets, but just not getting good luck at all throughout tonight. It's going to take him out of it.
2 to go now in the E-main. Very quickly, we'll get back to the white flag. Battle for the transfer is on. Matthew Johnston is up the road in the iRacing colors number 16. You were just on board with Colt Curry. Remember the contact that they had a couple of laps ago. Will this transfer battle end in contact again? Evan Dawson's going to get the win. Hutchison stays alive. Derek Jones stays alive. And Matthew Johnston stays alive. Dawson, Hutchison, Jones, Johnston. They do not advance into the A main. They advance into the D main that we're going to see in just a moment. But Colt Curry, Kyle McCutcheon, James Turnbull, Robbie McCutcheon, Dan Lane, Joshua Walton, and unfortunately Aiden Beerline and Brian Bennett, who we saw flipping, are all now going home. Ready for the D main with Cody Norman, Desmond Busby on the front row, Talon Willis, Evan Amadon on row 2, Jack Gronwald with James McDonald on your third row. Josh Kosick, Dan Dixon rounding out the drivers that advance into this heat advance into this main off of their heats. Evan Dawson, Cullen Hutchison, Derek Jones, and Matthew Johnston. If those names sound familiar, you just saw them finish top 4 in the E main. Now they will start tail end of the field in the D main run. To stay alive, you have got to march your way through this field. That is why it is so tough to go from the E main all the way to the A main.
This is probably going to sound a little bit repetitive from me, Josh, but I think to stay alive in this race, you just need to stay alive in this race. For those drivers who did well in that E-main, if they can just keep their noses clean and be there at the checkered flag, they may find themselves in a really good spot. We've seen a little bit of attrition all throughout tonight's racing action. I mean, with how quick these drivers are running around this racetrack, hauling the mail, kind of comes with dirt racing to a certain degree, but if those drivers towards the back can just keep it clean, they may find themselves in a fantastic spot.
These cars have the same horsepower as a Ford Mustang and weigh about a quarter of a Ford Mustang. They're all green flag racing for the D main. Up front, Cody Norman, Desmond Busby fighting now for second place. Taryn Willis goes upstairs as Busby gets a big push on the outside line. Willis inside. Jack Ronwald's the battle for the transfer. He's got Evan Amadon to the inside, or to the outside, I should say, the 32, protecting the fourth spot. The 35 goes upstairs to try and get the transfer.
Some of iRacing's best right now are putting on some of iRacing's best racing, but some of the closest and dangerous racing as well. Near disaster, seeing some drivers get so sideways, slideways, heading through the corners, a matter of inches, millimeters even, separating some of these racers. But that battle for those transfer spots, it is hot.
Talon Willis and Jack Ronwald right now are fighting within those transfers for P3. If they're not careful, Evan Dawson in the 33 is going to insert himself in that battle. But the top 4 are pulling away to the tune of about 3/10 now. Make it 5/10 as Evan Dawson continues to fall and the top 4 continue to pull away. Not only is the drivers that are trying to stay alive increasing as we go through these mains, also is the lap count. Heats were 8 laps. The last main, the E main, was 10, this one 12.
Yes, these racers having to throw a new wrench in the works for how they tackle these races. Need to consider those extra few laps. It may not seem like much on paper. Granted, you're just adding 2 laps, but those 2 laps can make or break your 2024 Chili Bowl Nationals. So these racers going to be applying a lot more pressure to their competitors, maybe saving up their stuff for a last lap assault. Let's see, this pack is still insane. The front 5 covered by about a second now with just 3 laps to go.
2 to go at the line. Evan Dawson fights for the transfer. That's contact behind contact up front for second. Now there's the lead with Cody Norman up in front. All eyes divert to the transfer. Right now, Evan Dawson looks for it. Cody Norman ends up with a mistake. He's now upstairs, and he is going to be the 4th driver advancing. Evan Dawson's going to miss out. Gronwald wins the main. Desmond Busby, Cody Norman, Talon Willis all will advance into the C main. With everybody else down from there, Evan Dawson from Majula C Speed Shop went for it, couldn't get it in the end. Derek Jones, Evan Amadon, Dan Dixon, Colin Hutchison, James McDonald, and down from there, Matthew Johnston and Josh Cossack, who didn't even start the race. Cossack ends up out of this race. More to go as we enter the C main. Chase Cabry starts on the pole, a very familiar name up front. Same thing with Jarrett Liebert, who is outside of the front row. Cody Meadows, Richard Murtaugh, Colin Mitchell, Nicholas Hovey rounds out the first 3 rows. Cannon Posey, Thomas Davison round out the drivers that advance into the C main off of the heats. Jack Gronwald, Desmond Busby, Talon Willis, Cody Norman all advance out of the D main. No, by the way, all of those names were not in the E main, so we will have nobody that will go all the way from the E main to the A main, but we still have a possibility for drivers to go from D to A, C to A, B to A, and any combination of those as we continue on with our preliminary mains before we get into the 55 lap feature tonight, Ron, which I think personally is shaping up to be really exciting with the racing that we've seen so far.
Oh yeah, the racing has been absolutely phenomenal thus far tonight, Josh, but I gotta say, hearing all this talk about D's, B's, C's, and A's, it's reminding me of school and giving me some very bad flashbacks, but the racing that we have certainly making up for it. It has been incredible from start to finish thus far, and I gotta imagine this main that we have right now, certainly not going to disappoint. We've had some brilliant racing thus far, some incredible side-by-side action, especially those battles for the transfer spots. Let's see if we have any of those D runners making it through to the B.
Here we go. Green flag racing for the C main. Chase Cabry wants to forget there's cars behind him. He gets pulled away well at the front. Battle for the transfers already starting to shape up. Nicholas Hovey versus Thomas Davison. Davison hits the wall. He goes way up the racetrack. Nicholas Hovey now goes for the transfer. He is going to get that spot first and foremost as Colin Mitchell is now still fighting him side by side for the transfer. Inside line 34, outside line 53.
And looking at this field at the moment, it's absolute insanity. That battle between Cabry and Murtaugh still continuing at the north end of the field. Meadows and Mitchell running in the final transfer spots for now. But look at the likes of Hovey, Posey and Davidson going side by side at the moment. That's a big wreck, a lot of drama heading through, and that may be a flipper yet again.
That was Thomas Davison that is on his side, unable to save that machine. Colin Mitchell pulls away with the transfer. Battle for the lead goes to Richard Murtaugh. Very quickly got by Chase Cabry as they continue to fight for the race lead. There's a look at your top three. Cabry sends it in, goes right up to the cushion of turns 3 and 4. Beautifully done, but can't make a move work for the race lead. Top 4 put a blanket over him. How about including top 5? Cody Norman, halfway through this C main, is on the back bumper to Colin Mitchell and knocking on the door of a transfer.
You can hear those knocks. You can hear them. You can hear that doorbell ringing as well. The real question is, are those calls at the front door going to get answered? It remains to be determined. You can see that field, nothing separating them. Contact heading through, and look at that. That is incredible stuff. You want to see what Dirt Midget Racing is on the iRacing platform in a nutshell? Look at this battle right now. That is 3 cars covered by absolutely nothing, and also Hovey just coming in for the slide a little bit farther in the back of shot. This is fantastic.
That contact that you just saw there was also for the transfer. This whole battle is Norman sends one in. He gives a hip check, and they're both gonna wreck. They're both over. More contact behind. Mitchell ends up wrecked in turn 3. So does Cody Norman. He went for the move, he made the contact, but these Dirt Midget cars are less like late models, more like Indy cars. You can't do wheel-to-wheel contact, and we just saw why. They're still tangled up in turn 3, but the battle for the transfer is a battle no more. It'll be white flag this time with Hovey well and away for the transfer. Checkered flag this time for Chase Cabry. He advances to the B main.
And what a drive from him. He just checked out. He wanted nothing to do with the madness behind him. And I can't necessarily blame him, Josh, taking the checkered flag.
That was a big move from Cody Norman, and it ends up not only putting him out of the race, but putting Colin Mitchell out of the race as well. Cabry, Murtaugh, Meadows, Hovey, they don't advance into the A, they advance into the B main that is now on deck. Jacob Denny is going to start on the pole. Remember, he got out of a transfer spot by wheeling late in that race. He ends up starting on the pole of the B main. TK Bryan, Gavin Marlin, Nate Clark, top 4. Kyle Hooper, Mason Hannell, 5th and 6th. Matt Hancock, Landon Graham Jr., the first 4 rows. Then Timothy Thurian rounds out the drivers that advanced on from the heats. Now for the drivers that advanced from the C main, Chase Cabry, Richard Murtaugh, Cody Meadows, Nicholas Hovey. It's the last driver of those 13 that will go racing for 16 laps in the B main, the final preliminary main before we go racing for 55 laps in the feature. And we've only got 4 more spots to fill, Ron. Top 4 here advance to the big show.
I think of all of the intense battles that we've seen all throughout tonight's racing thus far, we may be saving one of the best for last. In the final preliminary race, there's so much left to be determined, a lot at stakes, and you've got some very fast racers up and down the starting grid. Let's get it off.
We are underway for the final preliminary main of the night. Top 4 will advance to the A main. TK Bryan ends up losing a ton of time, and contact made. He's up and into the catch fence. That is going to be race over for TK Bryan. Move on back to the transfer. Nate Clark has it, but he's top of 3 wide. They're fighting for the transfer 3 by 3, leaning on each other. The 54 is going to get through.
How in the world did they get away with that? That is absolutely stunning there, Josh. And it looks like they're going to try and go for it again, heading off through the corner. Look at the 41 of Thurin on the inside line. He's wheeling that thing as well. Now he's going for a flip.
We'll issue a real quick correction. It's not top 4 that will advance into the A main. It is top 2. That battle's between these 2 drivers on your screen now. Upstairs, white 52 of Gavin Marlin. Downstairs, black 22 of Kyle Hooper. This is a big money battle for the transfer. Hooper inside, Marlin outside. We've only put 6 laps behind. Still got almost 10 to go.
Denny is entirely checked out. I gotta say, I think he is absolutely elated the fact he checked out, because if he was involved in this battle, it'd be even more insane than it already is. I gotta say, Josh, it may get even more nuts. You got Hooper and Marlin battling hard, but look at Handel getting involved in this fight as well, making a little bit of contact, I think, with Gavin Marlin in the number 52 car, heading off through the corner. Now Mason Handel is gonna try and wheel it on the inside, making big contact, heading through the corner. He elbows it out of the way. Gone, see ya. He wants to relegate him down. Handel wants a really good shot to make his way into the fight, as things for Marlin looking to fall apart, making big wall contact. Now getting more contact with Landon Graham on the inside.
Where on earth did Chase Cabry come from? Contact to the wall. Another car flipping. That is Gavin Marlin in the 52 that ends up behind. But Chase Cabry going for third now. He's trying to get by Mason Handel. He advanced from the C main to the B. He's looking to go to the A main. He's going to try and get by now the 22 of Kyle Hooper. But we've got a battle on our hands. Contact for third, or fourth, I should say. But all eyes are on Chase Cabry in third. What can he do? The Space Station Gaming 10 is on rails.
And does he have enough time is the real question. To catch up is one thing, to overtake is an entirely different thing. As you can see, Landon Graham gang shuffled up. He's had a really scrappy race in the number 12 car, still holding his own in fifth at the moment, but he's going to have to hope for a miracle to make his way up into the transfer spots. But speaking of that battle, it is on with Cabry and Hooper. Hooper on that inside, Cabry running the wall. Let's see if he can get it done. The number 10 car looking very quick.
Space Station Gaming is right. That number 10 is a rocket. White flag for Jacob Denny. He's 3 seconds ahead of this group, but the eyes are on the transfer. Cabry protects in 1. Can he protect in 3? Denny advances to the feature, and from the C to the A, Chase Cabry advances as well, and will start shotgun on the field in one of the fastest dirt midget cars on the track tonight. Beautifully done by the number 10 Space Station Gaming machine of Chase Cabry. Unbelievable job to go from the back of the field to the front, and he advances to the feature with Jacob Denny, Kyle Hooper, Mason Handel, Landon Graham Jr., Timmy Thurian, Nate Clark, Cody Meadows, Richard Murtaugh, Gavin Marlin. They all made it far, but they did not make it far enough. Hovey, Hancock, and Brian all with issues in that B main as well. But the excitement is just getting started. We're on deck for a 5-minute warm-up run as the track gets dialed in and we get dialed in for tonight's feature race. An eclectic group of drivers that I think we're going to see more contact, we're going to see more drama, we're going to see more aggressive racing, but at the end of 55 laps, we're also going to see a Chili Bowl Nationals champion on the iRacing service. Could be Cody Parmley going 2 for 2, winning multiple. Rico Robles is also in that conversation.
I think the thing that's going to help out Parmley the most is the fact he overcame the biggest hurdle of them all. I mentioned before he grabbed the green for the first time tonight, the fact he just needs to put himself in this spot. Lock yourself into the A main, then worry about racing your competitors later on in the night. He did that. He finds himself in a great spot. We've mentioned this throughout the show thus far, Josh. He is the reigning Chili Bowl Nationals iRacing winner, won it in 2023, and just in the past week, he's won a lot of the top split races, so Parmley looking incredibly quick heading into this final. I don't know about you. I think despite the fact we've had some brilliant racing all throughout tonight, some fantastic battles, 3 cars separated by inches, millimeters even, the action is still far from over. We've got 55 laps in front of us. The drivers in this warm-up, the calm before the storm, if you would, before we get the opportunity to crown a certainly very deserving champion.
Of course, all the excitement that we're seeing tonight is readily available to everybody tuning in live tonight. The iRacing holiday sale is currently in full effect. If you didn't take advantage of the Black Friday sale as a new member, well, take advantage of this holiday sale before January 5th when it wraps up. You can get 50% off brand new iRacing memberships through January 5th, visiting iRacing.com/holiday-sale. Give the gift of sim racing to the racing lover in your home or in your family, and if honestly, Ron, this racing tonight doesn't make anybody at home want to go take these cars out in the virtual Tulsa Expo Center, I don't really know what else you want. This has been exciting, and these cars are tough to drive. We're seeing why. It is a lot to tame these beasts, and these drivers are doing that tonight.
They're taming the beast around a dragon's den. That's the thing when it comes to this racetrack. It is such a fine margin of error that these racers have to get dangerously close to. Not a whole lot of room out there on the racetrack to go side by side, even 3 wide with some of your competitors as well. Not a lot of room to work with out there on the racetrack. If you make one small little mistake, it's either going to end in you hitting one of the barriers around this track or getting pile driven by one of your competitors. So it is such a dangerous game that these racers are playing with. But I gotta say, from our perspective in the commentary booth, certainly a lot less stressful than some of these drivers are feeling behind the wheel, our perspective behind a microphone. But Josh, it's brilliantly entertaining. The entertainment has been immense thus far, and it's still not over.
It's not over tonight, and it's not over next week as well. The World of Outlaws Pro Series, powered by iRacing, will be going to the virtual Knoxville Raceway, utilizing the 410 sprint cars this week. You do not want to miss as that championship continues on. Photo finish last week in the late models when they went racing at Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55. That series is getting exciting, and iRacing Esports Network has the coverage Monday night. If you want to keep the dirt oval racing going this week, but if you're taking part in that holiday sale, it's not just dirt oval racing, dirt road, off-road, rallycross in that license class, oval, the likes of NASCAR, IndyCar, road, same thing with IndyCar, the likes of Mazda MX-5s, brand new GTP cars, and IMSA cars being added seemingly every update. So if you want to take part in iRacing, there is no better time to get started than it is right now with that holiday sale. But the time for the warm-up is wrapping up quickly. We'll get ready for the feature race. Ron Montz, I'm going to put your money where your mouth is. Do we see Cody Parmley with another Chili Bowl Nationals win go 2 in a row? Does Logan Rumsey win his second? Does Rico Robles win his second? Do we see somebody else grab the win? Maybe Chase Capri from the very back of the field?
I think Cabri's certainly a man on a mission and proved that he has muscles worth flexing in that race that we just saw wrap up a couple of minutes ago. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to say that Cody Parmley is not going to get the job done tonight. I say that knowing fully well that quote may come back to bite me on the butt, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to say that it's not going to be Cody Parmley. Not sure who it's going to be, but I'm going to play devil's advocate there.
Let's waste no more time. 20 cars ready to go racing in the virtual Tulsa Expo Center. It is your reigning 2023 Chili Bowl Nationals iRacing champion, Cody Parmley, on the pole. It is 2020 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals champion, Logan Rumsey, to his outside. Dane Culver and Callum Thornton will share row 2. David Snook and Ethan Irons round out your heat race winners on the first page of the starting grid. Dylan Yeager on the inside of row 4 with Rico Robles, 2022 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals champion, in 8th. Noah Carpenter, Marshall Jacobs rounding out your top 10. Shelby Hinton, Chance Grasty rounding out the top 12 positions. Justin Opplinger, Aiden Price, Brady Baker, and Chase Rogers, all drivers that advance on from the heats. Trevor Gatch, Lockie Brett, all advancing from our last preliminary main. Jacob Denny's in that case as well. And Chase Cabry will start shotgun on the field after a second place and final transfer spot finish in the B main. He's got to go from 20th to 1st if he wants his first ever iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals win. But it's 3 drivers going for their second, 1 driver going for 2 in a row. This is what the iRacing special events calendar is all about. And Ron Montz, we're about to end off 2024 with some fireworks.
Gonna end it off with a bang. We've had some brilliant racing thus far. It's going to continue in this A main. 55 laps, just about 10 miles for these drivers to try and put themselves in the record books and become a special event winner. Some drivers looking for their second win in this race, others looking for their first. Let's see how things go. There's gonna be a heck of a lot of fun, Josh.
It is feature time in Tulsa. Let's go green. Big start for Cody Parmley. He protects off on Logan Rumsey to start the night. but Dane Culver fights for second place. It's no talk about transfer. It's all talk about win. Cody Parmley with the lead. Rumsey trying to set something up. Slider in from Dane Culver to keep third place. It works out well. Callum Thornton, David Snook fighting with Rico Robles, tail end of the top 5.
Now comes a time that these racers both have to talk the talk and walk the walk. They need to show that they have the pace, and they need to show that they have the grit to try and get the moves done. Be a bit aggressive. Go for the dives. Go for the slide jobs and try and grab the checkered flag, but we're getting the yellow flag now.
A collective exhale to start the feature race. We end up with Lucky Brett upside down in turn number 3 to bring out caution flag number 1. It wasn't all his fault. It was contact up the road, and looked like somebody went side by side with contact, and unfortunately that was Lucky Brett getting the worst end of the stick in that regard. I don't know who made contact up the road. Let's take another look on board. The 51 hits the apron, contact up in front, and go for a ride. A push from behind also helping there.
A small little love tap, if you would. Love definitely being subjective in that regard, but still, small little tap can result in a huge disaster. We gotta say, was going to be brought up at some point during this A main race. Caution laps not counting, so we still have 3 on the board. Whole lot of racing left to go. Come to the green now.
Parmley leads us right back to the green. Rumsey behind. Single file restarts that we will see tonight from the iRacing Chili Bowl and the Nationals. Dane Culver, Callum Thornton, David Snook, top 5 where they sit now. Side by side, further back. One driver hits the apron in turns 1 and 2. No issues there, but coming back to the stripe to put 5 laps behind us. Everybody's looking at the 3 and the 1. 2 all black dirt midgets at the front of this field. It's Cody Parmley and Logan Rumsey.
Here we go, the Voids running at the front of the field. Parmley and Rumsey putting on a really good show. They're the Pied Pipers at the moment. The real question is, will they be able to maintain their dominance? Culver and Thornton going side by side a little bit farther behind them. Riding on board now the 31 car of Callum Thornton. He's now getting a move put on him by Rico Robles. Where did he come from in the 5?
Big slider from the all-black 5 as he goes into 4th. That Redline Oil number 31 sitting in pursuit for 5th. David Snook, Dylan Yeager battling back from there. There's the move for Snook, who went to the outside, but looking at this beautiful drone-style camera shot on Robles. He is looking nothing but forward right now, but hits the wall outside of turns 3 and 4, trying to set up to the inside of the 18 of Dane Culver. Doesn't have enough momentum. Will reset now from P4.
Was looking a little bit too forward there. He's getting very dangerously close to that outside barrier. That's the thing. These drivers ripping the rim at this point as another yellow coming out.
Believe it might have been Marshall Jacobs with an incident. It was. He went around after contact from behind. The 25 machine making contact in turn 2, and that led to him going around, and that stoppage right there on the racetrack, that's what brought out the yellow flag. Yes, it is a quickie yellow. We're not going to see pit stops or anything that will lengthen the caution periods, but caution flags, laps do not count, so we're stuck on lap 12 until we go back to green. But already the better part of 2, maybe 3 laps before we go back to green, so it is very, very quick turnarounds on these cautions. You're not going to be sitting here for too long, Ron, and more importantly, that track is not going to be rubbering in as much as it would be. But take a look at what we're seeing on the track right now. Pretty definitive groove starting to form on the bottom. It doesn't look like these drivers are losing too much grip yet, but it could get there by the end of this 55 lap feature race.
That's the thing when it comes to dirt racing. For a guy like me who primarily grew up with road course racing stuff, usually in racing, the track gets rubbered in and it gets quicker. Here in dirt racing, though, it's kind of the opposite. Back to green now.
That track will slick over, grip will start to lose, but right now seems like not a problem, especially for our front few drivers. Cody Parmley and Logan Rumsey pull away again at the front of this field. Cody Parmley, 2023 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals champion, battling the 2020 and first ever iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals champion in Logan Rumsey. This is going to be a battle that we're going to be watching all through this feature race unless something were to break them up. Rumsey preferring that middle line. Parmley preferring preferring that bottom line. Right now, seems like it's working for Parmley, putting that left front tire right on that raised apron.
I'll tell you what, as we see these drivers go side by side, we may need to take a look in the history books, Josh, to remind ourselves that in the real-life Chili Bowl, the first ever driver who won that race was Rich Vogler back in 1987. He never won the Chili Bowl after that, so maybe in the world of iRacing, getting a case of deja vu. Certainly the driver running the number one on his race car, trying to be number one, still trying to find any way in the book to get past Partley, nearly running up into the wall heading through, and that's a big moment of aerial acrobatics and a big crash. That's going to bring another yellow out.
That was just as Logan Rumsey made a move for the race lead. He did not get it by the time that yellow flag came out. He'll have to reset from second place. Driver upside down was Shelby Hinton, who, take a look at this replay, 23 upstairs, they get stuck. And along for the ride goes Shelby Hinton.
Oh, that was a very odd-looking collision. Only in the midgets, only in the dirt midgets will you see some sort of collision like that. Take a look at another angle of this. You can see wheeling it on the inside. Side-by-side racing around this track is usually quite sketchy, but with stuff like that, it's always going to end in tears. Getting hit about 5 times as a wild ride to end all wild rides. Very rarely in the world of not just racing, but everything, period, can you have such a wild ride indoors. Only at the Chili Bowl Nationals.
I mentioned earlier, Ron, how tough these cars are to manage. It is like taming a wild beast. These things have almost just right around 1,000 pounds and right around 400 horsepower as we get ready to go back to green here. And as we go back to green, it seems like some drivers just, you may put one foot wrong, you're not consistent for one lap, the car will bite back.
Oh, it absolutely will. These cars can be evil if you look at them the wrong way. If your car doesn't like the cut of your jib, it's going to send you straight off the tracks. These racers going to try and maintain some good feelings with their own car and their competitors as well. If you're in that comfort zone, if you're riding in that window very, very comfortably, that's going to be when we see the cream rise to the top and get these drivers that we see at the front of the field running as strongly as they can, running a little bit too quick off into the corner. That, I think, was a double wall whammy with Logan Rumsey and Dane Culver, as that's another yellow coming at.
Justin Opplinger slow, Trevor Gatch slow, and we'll get another look at what brings out yet another yellow flag, and it was yet another one for the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals flip count for 2024. And here's the replay. Upstairs, hits the wall, and up and over. That is about what a 1,000-pound race car is able to do. It's very easy to do aerial acrobatics in these things. They weigh about as much as your local rental go-kart does.
I'll tell you what, going back to the talking about go-karts and stuff like that, I used to race shifter karts myself, and I remember people saying that driving a shifter kart is about the most violent thing that you can drive. On asphalt, I think that is the case, but on dirt, a dirt midget, a dirt sprint car, dirt racing period, it just defies the laws of physics, seeing how quickly these drivers can run around these racetracks in dirt, mud-slinging around the racetrack like it's going out of style, and putting on some great racing in the process.
Nearing halfway done with the feature race. Green flag back in the air. Rumsey goes back upstairs. That's been the new crutch for the number one, trying to use the outside line, but that's invited Dane Culver into this conversation. Rumsey goes back upstairs, uses the wall to his advantage to try and pound off of it and get to the bottom of the racetrack to get by Cody Parmley. Doesn't work there, but he pulls up even. Dane Culver has had some good results this week. A top 5 in Wednesday 9 p.m. time slot of the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals. He sits third as the battle for the lead still in the hands of Parmley. Rumsey doing all he can to try and get by as we put halfway behind us in a few laps.
I gotta say, Josh, I'm not feeling confident at all in the number one car of Logan Rumsey. I think he's hit the wall in turn 1 and 2 about like 17 times thus far in this race. He's been getting very close with that concrete barrier, sometimes getting too close. You can see that one car occasionally bouncing. I think he's gotten his act together, so to speak, for lack of a better term. He's certainly feeling a bit less aggressive, heading off into the corners with a bit less momentum, but I don't know what it is about that number one car, Josh. Feeling more confident in Culver getting a move done on Rumsey than I am feeling about Rumsey getting a move done on Parmley.
Culver now looks to the inside for second place, trying to use use up Rumsey, but he ends up using up himself in P3. Talking about Cody Parmley, who leads right now, commanding this race lead. He won the 2023 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals live on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. But this week, Tuesday 9 p.m. winner Cody Parmley. Wednesday 9 p.m. Cody Parmley. Thursday 9 p.m. Cody Parmley. Last night 9 p.m. Cody Parmley. He has done nothing but win all week long in the splits that he has started. But the yellow flag comes back out. We slow down again just past halfway in the feature race. Single car incident looks like at the back of this field to bring out a yellow flag, and that's a pretty easy one right there. Running the cushion, ends up at the entranceway into the Tulsa Expo Center raceway, and off and into the wall. Caution flag right on back out.
Yeah, fairly simple procedure there. Unfortunate to have that incident. Gotta say that car already looked a bit battered and bruised before then. But either way, this field neutralized yet again with that halfway mark in our rear view mirror. Josh, I gotta wonder what these drivers are going to do in the final few laps. Are they going to be even more aggressive? Are they going to try and save up their stuff for the final 5 laps of this race? Oh, looking at some retaliation possibly. The 51 clearly not happy with the way that he was raced a couple of moments ago. But Josh, I think we're coming to the green again in a couple of moments time. I gotta wonder what style of racing we're gonna have coming to the checkered flag.
Lap 32 of 55 on the unofficial timer. It's only about 4 minutes in the remaining laps. Here we go. Back to green at the Tulsa Expo Center. Inside, Rumsey. Outside now, Parmley. They've swapped going through 1 and 2. Slider sends from the back. Nobody successful yet. But that restart pushed the top 5 together. About 1 second separating all of them now. What can Robles do from 5th? How about Dylan Yeager? Another one of our World of Outlaws Pro Series competitors knocking on the door of P3.
Gosh, we've got so many sliders up and down this grid. I'm honestly shocked that most of the field haven't broken out a cup of crinkle cut fries and a bag of napkins, but these drivers wheeling it. Looking at that from Yeager, that was a very bad run. A wild ride to be sure, but he sent himself back into absolute madness. Contact being made. That's a big crash heading off into the corner. That's going to bring yet another yellow out. A big stack up heading through the corner, and there's a yellow.
Dylan Yeager was on the raised apron and ended up making contact with, looks like, Jacob Denny in the 14. And they went around in turn 3. Yeager was on the inside, running in turns 1 and 2, using that apron as much as he could. It seems like a very quick way around this racetrack is to get those inside left front tires up on that raised part and kind of push the car through the corner run. But I think what Dylan Yeager was doing there might have been flying a little bit too close to the sun. He was getting pinched down there as well, got up on the apron, and unfortunately, I think a little bit along for the ride, but also a little bit just trying to stay in the fight.
It's the old story of Icarus with the driver of the number 4 car. He had his wax wings. He flew too close to the sun. They melted and he crashed into the ocean. That's what happened a couple of moments ago. Tough to have something like that happen towards the final stages of this race. But again, these racers are seeing the checkered flag approach them in the not too distant future. They're going to break their elbows out a little bit. That, I think, may have just been a bit too much over aggression. But still, these racers, they want to get a Chili Bowl win, and they're going to try and do it at all costs.
And right on back to green. Time quickly winding down. Laps 37 we're on right now. And we're very much closing in on the twilight portion of this race. Parmley leads 4/10 over Rumsey. Rumsey goes back to the inside. They have swapped. Remember, beginning of this race, it was all Parmley on the inside, all Rumsey upstairs. But now, as we look on board with Dane Culver, watching these two fighting up front, Rumsey sees a door open on the inside. He doesn't have enough momentum to get there by the back straightaway. 15 to go at the stripe.
I gotta say, Josh, my comment earlier on about Logan Rumsey not feeling very good about his chances, I think we could throw that out the window. He is feeling really racy in that number 1 car. He's got to try and set himself up as best as he possibly can in the final 15 laps of this race. You got to set yourself up well. They're nearly side by side coming out of the corner. Parmley feeling the burn. He is feeling the pressure from Rumsey in the 1.
Side by side for the race lead for the moment. Rumsey on the inside. He is there. getting dangerously close to 10 to go. Also getting dangerously close to this battle for the lead being forced to end by a checkered flag. Rumsey goes back to the bottom, uses the apron to his advantage, but he can't do anything. Parmley playing near perfect defense right now in the race lead. It's 10 to go this time by, and all to play for in the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals, but contact further back, another wreck, and another yellow flag that'll bring us to another restart.
And that may be the shot that the one needs. That may have been his saving grace. As we're going to take a look at the replay to see what's brought this yellow at. Another single car collision heading off through the corner. Quickly gets it back rolling is a number 40, but that's enough to bring the yellow at. And honestly, Josh, I don't know about you. I was going to mention the fact that with how much this track had rubbered in, that may have been game, set, match between Parmley and Rumsey. But I think this yellow, this may have been exactly what Rumsey needs to try and take the fight right to Parmley. This is going to be a heart-pumping finish. I am convinced of it.
And going back to what I mentioned earlier at the start of this feature, when Logan Rumsey was running off the wall, he was doing that to get drive off, get momentum coming off of the cushion and off of the wall to try and get by Cody Parmley. Didn't seem to work. He's been going now back to the inside to try and use the apron. It's 10 laps to go with Cody Parmley in the lead. Logan Rumsey goes back to the bottom again. Can Dane Culver insert himself into this battle? It's gonna be tough, but he's got an opportunity to, especially if the front two put a foot wrong and make some contact.
Is Rumsey going to be able to get the move done? Certainly getting close to the back of that race car of Parmley. You can see these drivers, they're feeling really good about their chances. They have 47 laps in their back pocket. They know how their race cars are driving, and they know how they are as a race car driver as well. You've got two Chili Bowl winners contending for a second, but they've got another restart to deal with as the yellow's back out.
Another yellow flag to slow everything back down. Contact again. Looks like this one's going to be back in 1 and 2. Slight contact, but it's the full stop right there and the more contact on the back end that brings out the yellow flag. Of course, these iRacing special events are just normal iRacing sessions, like you'd race top of the hour, hour 15, whatever. So it uses the iRacing automatic stewarding system. And that's one of the just kind of things that you see from the official iRacing stewarding system that's done automatically. Full stops usually end up bringing out yellow flags, but ready to go for another restart with Parmley still in command.
But is Parmley going to be able to withstand that challenge? Is he going to keep control? Let's find out. This is going to be a hard-pumping finish here, Josh. Been a great night of racing action thus far, and we still got a dramatic conclusion coming up in a couple of moments' time.
And away we go. Lap 49. It is 7 to go in the feature. Rumsey goes downstairs again. Could this be his moment? It's not. Door slammed again by Cody Parmley. 6 laps to go. Dane Culver watches from third, wondering what if and wondering how can I get involved in all of this racing at the front of the field for the top 2. 5 to go at the stripe. Logan Rumsey has got to throw everything at the wall.
I gotta say, I'm feeling good about Dane Culver. If these two go off in a cloud of dust and steam, it'll be the 18 of Culver taking the checkered flag. But the real question is, are we going to see these two get close enough to have a change of spots? Are they going to come to blows? They're certainly feeling really racy. Parmley holding on to the lead, withstanding the challenge from Rumsey. Does he have something in his back pocket? Is he going to pull a rabbit out of the hat? Let's see if the one can take it.
Coming to the line, this time by for 2 laps to go. Can Rumsey do anything? Parmley has been playing perfect defense for this entire feature. It's been the same image, but now Rumsey gets to the inside. The slight contact, the move to the inside in 3. They're side by side again with the white flag in the air. This is for the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals. Rumsey on the inside, contact with the back wheel of Cody Parmley through the final corner. It's not going to be enough. Parmley back to back of the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals.
And what a way for Cody Parmley to do it as well. He withstood a world of pressure. There is planets out there that don't have as much pressure as Parmley just had to withstand. That was a brilliant drive from Cody to go back-to-back in the Chili Bowl Nationals. He had to fight to his heart's content to get it done, but he withstood the pressure. He withstood challenge after challenge, move after move, tap after tap. He was able to get it done. Congratulations. He's a two-time Chili Bowl champion.
Rumsey threw all that he could, started the feature running the cushion to get momentum off the wall to push himself at Cody Parmley, then switched up, went to the bottom, tried that lane, and it did not work. Parmley did not put a foot wrong, goes 5 time slot wins this week and wins the broadcasted split again for 2 years running. Dane Culver rounds out your podium. Rico Robles, Noah Carpenter, top 5. Chase Cabry, he didn't race all the way up to the win, but racing from 20th to 6th against this field, that is great from the Space Station Gaming number 10. Brady Baker, Aiden Price, Ethan Irons, David Snook rounding out your top 10. And back from there, Dylan Yeager, Callum Thornton, Marshall Jacobs, Justin Oplinger, and Chance Grasty rounding out your top 15. And rounding out your field, Chase Rogers in 16th, and last one on the lead lap. And then down from there, drivers with a good handful of issues tonight: Lockie Brett, Shelby Hinton, Jacob Denny, and Trevor Gatch rounding out your 20 drivers that took the green flag in the A main. But Ron, to put a bookend on not just the Chili Bowl Nationals tonight, but also 2024, the iRacing special events, that tonight was exciting, and especially that feature. 2 of iRacing's best in this car on this track just went battling for 55 laps, arguably about as clean as they could have done it and about as exciting as they could have done it at the same time.
Oh, that was absolutely brilliant. I said this line earlier on in the show, and I feel like it's really accurate to describe the racing action that we saw all throughout tonight's broadcast. Some of iRacing's best, putting on some of iRacing's best. That was a brilliant show from start to finish, from the heat races to kick off the night through to the alphabet soup and that 55-lap A main that we just saw. That was fantastic from start to finish, Josh. And a rightful winner grabbing the checkered flag certainly wasn't easy for him. He had to withstand a whole lot of pressure, but he got the job done in the first heat race of the night, punched his ticket into the A main, and then he knew what he had to do. He won it last year. He wins it again here in 2024 and caps off a brilliant year on the iRacing platform with another special event win. That was absolutely brilliant.
This is why I love the Chili Bowl Nationals. This is why I love dirt oval and dirt road racing on the iRacing service, and why I am a mainstay of commentating races like this and series like this. But the special event calendar for 2024 might be wrapping up with the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals tonight. 2025 is right on the horizon. It begins a couple of weekends into January with the Roar, right into the Daytona 24. The Dale Jr. charity event, brand new iRacing special event in January, and then you go on down from there. It's famous races: Daytona 500, Bathurst 12-hour, Sebring 12-hour, the fixed and open Indy 500s. Thruxton gets an iRacing special event now that it's been added. How about July? Firecracker 400. I'm excited to see what happens in July, but through the rest of the calendar for 2025, we've got the Chili Bowl again, Ron. We've got the Production Car Challenge to round out December, but it's got something for everybody. It's got the endurance racing. It's got the open wheel oval, open wheel road. It's got the short racing, the dirt oval racing, the dirt road racing. It's got everything in 2025 of the iRacing special events.
It's a sample pack. You get a sample of just about every single thing that the iRacing platform has to offer, whether it be endurance sports car races, whether it be some fantastic open wheel action. Regardless of what it is, iRacing has got you covered. That is a fantastic schedule of events to look forward to in the year 2025. But for the year 2024, that Chili Bowl was just about the best way I think we would have capped off the year for the special events.
I'm already ready for 365 days to go in the rearview mirror and to get started on the 2025 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals. Remember, the holiday sale continues up to January 5th, 50% off brand new memberships, iRacing.com/holiday-sale to take part in the iRacing holiday sale and give the gift of sim racing this holiday season. That'll conclude our coverage of the 2024 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals. For Hugo Louise down in the virtual production truck, for Ron Mons joining myself, Joshua Lee in the booth. Congratulations to Cody Parmley, who is now a two-time, 2-in-a-row iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals champion. Can he do it again in 2025? Tune in 1 year to find out.